true leadership is really about creating conditions for your team to do the best work of their careers. And I try to remind myself that it doesn't have to be me doing everything. I am building the environment for good things to become possible. And it really takes a lot of creativity to do that. The willingness to see goals from fresh eyes and to tackle them collaboratively from first principles. The leaders I've admired most have really created these conditions where I felt that I could thrive, and they gave me resources and the agency to use those resources. And you need to have the entire team fully bought into the goals and really believe and be confident that we can collectively hit those goals and that our success matters to the company's mission.
Welcome to the True Leadership Podcast, where we sit down with executive leaders to explore what leadership really means through the lens of their stories, their wins, their struggles, their vision, and their lessons along the way. I'm Ty Hammond, founder of One Mountain Leadership and creator of the True Leadership Approach, an awareness-based path that helps leaders shift their focus from what to do about their problems to how to grow from them. Whether you're just stepping into leadership or are well-seasoned and at the top of your game, your potential won't be realized following someone else's script, but you can draw insights from their stories and turn it into wisdom by putting it into practice in your own life.
Welcome to the True Leadership Podcast, where we explore the essence of leadership beyond tactics and performance by sitting down with executives to hear what matters most to them. I'm your host, Jessy James, and today's guest is Caroline Ang Wright. Caroline is a seasoned revenue leader and operator with a track record of building and scaling high-performing go-to-market teams. With experience across marketing leadership, strategic partnership, and organizational growth, she brings both operational rigor and people-first leadership in every environment she enters. Known for her clarity, direct communication, and ability to align teams around measurable outcomes, Caroline excels at turning vision into execution. She thrives in fast-moving organizations, helping leaders sharpen strategy, elevate performance, and create cultures where accountability and collaboration drive sustainable growth. Her leadership blends precision, empathy, and a deep commitment to developing others. Caroline, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on the podcast today.
Yeah, thank you for the kind words and thank you for having me.
Caroline, I'm curious, who is someone from your early life or even an early experience that shaped the leader that you are today?
Well, I had a manager at my first real job, and she gave me a really interesting piece of advice. I didn't understand it at all at the time, but now when I think back, I think, wow, that was really profound. And she said, Caroline, I know that right now the company seems really, really big and you seem really small. But you need to make the company small and you need to make yourself big. And I was so confused. I had no idea what she meant by that. It didn't seem actionable. But, reflecting back, I think I know what she meant. And the concerns and priorities of the company can seem so important that you let them displace your values and your well-being, your needs. And it really should be the other way around. We should be investing in ourselves and our development because at the end of the day, companies come and go. And really the only thing that you take with you is your experiences and your learnings and your adaptability. And so when I look back at my time at that company, really the actual nitty gritty of the work that I was doing doesn't matter now. All these years later, it doesn't matter that the formatting on those slides that I stayed up till 2 a.m. to perfect, worked. And it doesn't matter that I was agonizing over these survey questions. What I'm really grateful for is the foundational skills that I learned and for that piece of advice from my manager that's stayed with me ever since.
That's incredible perspective. Thank you. What does true leadership mean to you? What, from your perspective, makes a true leader?
From my perspective, I think true leadership is really about creating conditions, and that's the conditions for your team to do the best work of their careers. And I try to remind myself that it doesn't have to be me doing everything. I am building the environment for good things to become possible. And it really takes a lot of creativity to do that. Not creativity in the artistic sense per se, but really the willingness to see goals from fresh eyes and to tackle them collaboratively from first principles. So the leaders I've admired most have really created these conditions where I felt that I could thrive, and they gave me resources and the agency to use those resources. I've thought a lot about, what it takes to make this happen. And you need to have the entire team fully bought into the goals and really believe and be confident that we can collectively hit those goals and that our success matters to the company's mission. And really what I found is that is where the excitement and the energy comes in. I don't know if you've ever been in that environment where things are really electric and everyone is itching to get started and people are just throwing ideas in the mix and refining what's already on the table. It's really exciting. And working on a team like that is one of the best feelings in the world. When you know you're valued, when your contributions are meaningful, and when the work that you're doing matters. So I really try to recreate that magic and that sense of purpose for my teams.
Caroline, can you share a time when you realized that your way of leading or living no longer met the demands of your work and life and growth was needed?
Yeah, that's a great question, Jessy. I think I have to remind myself every day to have a growth mindset, especially right now. It's really hard not to be intimidated by all the hype around AI, right? Like the LinkedIn noise and everyone in the media. And yes, AI is changing everything, and change is really scary. But I think there are also so many doors that are opening because of it. And I have to force myself to think it doesn't do me any good to spiral into this doom and gloom, but I can choose every day to be curious and adaptable and put in the work to actually learn how to use these tools. And I heard someone mention on a podcast recently that every AI expert that you see out there became an AI expert in the last 6 months. Like this world did not exist a year ago. And so there's still time to learn and there's still time to level up. And some people have a head start for sure, but I think the vast majority of us are just now diving in, and that ship hasn't sailed yet. So I would guess, with very few exceptions, most of us are still battling that imposter syndrome and feeling this intense pressure to become AI pilled or AI native. And then I think back and I realize I have felt this exact way before. I grew up thinking of myself as non-technical, but now I really love the growth mindset reframe. I'm not technical yet. And it turned out that actually I was a lot more technical than I realized. Just my technical abilities didn't look like the traditional computer science or engineering path. And so I believe that the same is possible with AI with the right mindset.
Yeah, and I'm curious, Caroline, as you kind of became more fluent with AI and some of these challenges that you mentioned, what changed for you? What did you let go? What did you free yourself of?
Again, I think so much of it is mindset. It's very intimidating to come in and say, can I build an AI agent? Can I understand all of these systems? And am I going to be able to figure out how to replicate all of the things that I've spent my career learning how to do with this latest tool? But I think just actually carving time out to sit with the tools, to give myself time and patience to work them out has been really helpful. I think that there are a lot of people who say you can replace the entire marketing department with one AI tool. That's not true, right? And I need to believe that I'm bringing something to the table that is different than AI can bring. And AI can be my helper, right? And I can orchestrate AI, but I don't need to fear it so much.
Caroline, thinking about your journey over the past few years, what's been the most valuable investment that you've made in yourself for your own growth?
Well, I came into marketing leadership from a non-traditional path, so journalism, market research, and analytics. And it meant that I had to teach myself the craft of marketing from scratch. And so I've always had to start from first principles. What is the goal? How will we get there? And I've continued to do that. I think that's been a really great investment to say, let's take the time and think about these first principles, because then you're not weighed down by jargon or this is how things are always done. This is how we've always done it. I've always had to build my own playbooks and then adapt them to the context that I've been in, even with very, very lean resources. So, I've really found that investing that time to understand things from the ground up and then take a fresh approach has been really helpful. And I was fortunate enough to learn marketing from some of the best in the business during my time at Square, where I really cut my teeth as a product marketer and where I saw what good looks like at scale. But each time I come to a new startup, I have to think about, what I've seen work in the past and what might work here, but what are things that are different and how do I adapt? And so really starting with that fresh curiosity for each new initiative is key. It's easy to get distracted by the loudest or the shiniest thing that everyone's talking about. But I try to really lean into those basic questions. What are we trying to achieve? And what is the best path forward? And if this isn't possible, what's the second best? What's the third best? Just try to think about things from that perspective. And what I've learned about myself over the years is that I am the kind of person who really needs to plan things out before I leap right into execution. So I really front load that investment so that, you're getting the strategy right and then the execution can follow. So, I've really had to force myself to recognize sometimes you have to go slow in order to go fast.
What's your vision for your leadership, your legacy, or the impact that you want to have in the years ahead?
It's incredible. I have heard that your boss has a bigger impact on your mental health than your family and your friends. I mean, that is an enormous weight and responsibility. And honestly, I have been on both sides of that spectrum. And so I decided a long time ago that I want to treat my direct reports the same way that I want to be treated, with respect, with kindness, and with honesty. And that is really hard. It's a lot easier when things are going well. It's very hard when things aren't going well. But to create an environment where people feel supported through both successes and mistakes, and where there's psychological safety and where people can do the best work of their careers, that is the impact I want to have.
Got it. And where do you feel most tested right now? What are the challenges that are stretching you the most, both in leadership and in life?
Yeah, well, I'll answer this in kind of two parts. One is what I aspire to be, and then what I'm working on right now. So one of the things that I've found is that the best leaders I've been around all have this in common. They were genuinely more interested in what I had to say rather than telling me what they thought. And so they treated me as a thought partner and developed me as a leader. And they didn't just treat me as an execution layer. And I've really always appreciated that approach. And I think I've had to work on this, honestly. It's very easy as you move up and as people start deferring to your judgment and asking for your sign off and your approval on things. It's easy to slowly start believing that you are the smartest person in the room and that you know best. And like a proverbial frog in the water, it can happen so gradually that you don't even notice. And so one of the hardest things and the hardest habits I've had to build is to turn questions around and to stay humble and curious and to say, what do you think? How would you approach it? Even if I have a ton of ideas, because jumping in with my ideas and setting, and speaking first really sets the direction, and you can accidentally steal all of the agency from your team. And so, we hire people for their years of experience and their judgment and their pattern recognition. And we all win when they feel empowered to speak their minds and bring that expertise to bear.
And so here's the last question. It's more of an invitation, but you have the time and space here to offer to our listeners whatever is top of the mind for you and most in your heart. Just share straight from your heart, anything at all. The floor is yours.
Yeah, I think, it's hard to admit that I have not always been a great leader. I know you always have to start somewhere. And when I think about the first the first teams that I managed to, kind of how I lead now, there has definitely been a journey and a progression. And it's very humbling to think about. And I guess, I have a lot of gratitude because I feel like I've always worked best when I feel trust and ownership and respect and support from leadership. And so I've been really trying to do my part to create those conditions for folks who are on my teams. And it's not always easy to create that, but it really does make or break how someone remembers their time working with you. And I recently had 2 team members tell me this is the best team that they've ever been on. And that meant everything to me because, when I first started being a manager, I would have never thought someone would say that. I made a lot of mistakes. And so it was amazing to hear. And I hope that they'll always take that feeling of camaraderie and agency and achievement with them. I remember every great team I've ever been on. And I hope there will be many more.
Wonderful. Well, Caroline, thank you so much. I appreciate the wisdom that you shared with us today. I've gotten so much out of this discussion, and I'm sure our listeners will get as much as well. Thank you so much for coming on the True Leadership Podcast.
Thanks for having me, Jessy.
That's it for this episode of the True Leadership Podcast. If you enjoyed this conversation, you can subscribe to YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you're listening to this to catch future episodes. This conversation was brought to you by One Mountain Leadership, where we help leaders grow the capacity, confidence, and presence of true leadership through the True Leadership approach. To learn more about the approach, our offerings, our community, and how we can help you realize your potential in both leadership and in life, visit us at onemountainleadership.com.